Alright, so I'm live, and I'm going to try to do this on camera here. Installing the new Terraonion MODE. Let's get some more light in here. I'm sure that's helpful. Not really. Oh, but we bounce it off the wall there. It's something. All right, here let's aggregate this. Figured someone wants to see it. I had a couple of questions, a couple of people wanting to see me do this. So let's share. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday out there. Yeah, let's see here. All right, well that's something, right? Someone somewhere. All right, so this install is fairly straightforward. I've got a Model 2. Let's get some camera movement. No, too high, too low, just right. Okay, so this is a Model 2 Saturn. Round buttons, USA model. It had a Phoebe installed on it just recently, and I got rid of it because I wanted to upgrade to the mode. The new hotness here. Let me flip my chat monitor so I can see if someone asks me a question. Alright, so I got mine. Alright, but I passed it off to my buddy Johnny in Austin now, and he gets to have a Phoebe now, and I get to have the new mode. So, if you're unfamiliar, this is the new Terraonion. I'll put it back here. There we go. Terraonion MODE. And if you're unfamiliar what it is this little board right here, and it works on two systems. It works on the Saturn and the Dreamcast. And it is a optical disc emulator, so essentially you remove your laser gone, and you can now replace it with the nice part is you can replace it with 3 different give me your Saturn. Can't even see that. No, you can't have my Saturn. You can now use 3 different methods of storage. You can put a USB drive, you can use an SD card, or you can use a SATA drive, which is kind of the new big hotness here. Before I share that, I'm going to peel something off and keep it for myself because I don't want anyone to see this. It does have a serial number on it, and I've already registered it with my account. So that's fine, but now no one can claim that it's theirs. Alright, so for safety. But this is the mode. It's got 20 pin, 21 pin support here and here. It's got a lot of entry points, a lot of different expansion areas. I think they even made all the pinouts, so if you wanted to add LEDs or wanted to add all sorts of things, reset switches, like GPI pins, basically. A lot of connectivity. I'm interested. There's also an expansion port, which I don't know what that's going to be for. Maybe later on they'll make this work on another system. Who knows? There is the USB. So USB is interesting because they made it internal, but I think the common mod will be maybe run an extension, a USB port from here out. But I have a hard, so I'm doing SSD for the Saturn, and I'm gonna put it in the Dreamcast today, just to do it on a stream. So here's the Dreamcast it'll go to. This is my HDMI modded Dreamcast, and it already has a GDEMU in it, so I'm happy with that. But if I like the interface and like what Terraonion does, I will probably buy another one for this. But I am going to install it to test it, just to kind of see how it works, and go from there. But this is going to go directly in my Saturn, and I am using a 1 terabyte solid state. So the 1 terabyte solid state it'll be nice and quiet, no mechanical. I fit the entire redump library for Saturn, so I will stream it. Of course, once I get it up and running, I've got it already set up, so I plug it in and it'll be on the capture card. But essentially, yeah, I'm going to fire it up first time on stream. So if it doesn't work, hopefully Terraonion sees this and goes, hey, it's not working. But this is my Saturn. And like I said, it's a Model 2 US. It is a 21-pin model. So it used to have a Phoebe installed on it. It's going on rolls. But yeah, so we're gonna try it out here. Let's get going. So I've seen a couple of the install videos already by Mad Little Pixel and a couple other ones, and I think even Terraonion themselves put one up. But this is, again, like I said, the American Model 2. And to put this in here, you have to remove these right here. So that's a little further than I've normally gone on the Saturn. So what I'm going to have to do is I have to take out the power supply, and I have to take off this whole panel here so I can get to these and take these off, because it won't fit in here without it, right? So let's start with that. So we'll go. So it's got one there, and if I remember, it's got two back here. So two power, two screws right there. One, two, and again, this is pretty easy. The Saturn is 5 screws. It's 5 screws on the bottom, and then you literally pop this off, and that's it. So I haven't gone too far off camera. I just wanted to do that far. So there we go, and this is fairly easy. You just lift. It's got these pins right here that just kind of sit right in here. Pop that off. There, done. Power supply out. This is the shield underneath it so it doesn't ground out. What's going on, Tim? And let's take a look here. So I haven't looked at how to tear this apart, so I'm going to just do my best here. It's probably going to be a bunch of screws. Looks like I need to get deep enough, so I've got to take all of these out. So let's just start from this corner and see how I go. Screw, that's a pretty long one. Okay, hopefully all the screws are the same. If not, I will keep track as best as I can. I'm really terrible at screws. Yeah, so far so good. Same size, all right. And let's see. Okay, so it looks like the power switch doesn't need to be taken out. Looks like this board goes around it. So we'll go this way. Let's see here. Let's see, so are we already longer? Look, these are already longer than these two. Hilarious. Okay. So the longer ones are the front ports. Here, we'll go to the side here. Not my best screwdriver. I took all the rest of them to my garage, and I forgot to bring them back before the stream started. So of course, as usual, I'm going to be working with dinky screwdrivers. That's the nature of it, right? The 7 engineers, they have paid. That's right. They're paid to make it work. They're just glad they don't have to work on their own products. Yes, that's pretty much the consensus. Is oh God, is that even a smaller screw? What? Okay, so it's on this side. Yes. Well, it's like mechanics, right? Like my dad had a mechanic shop for years, and the way it works is right. Like you fix everyone else's car, but your car is always the one that's running like crap. All right. And that was always the case with my dad. My dad has always had a car, and there was always something wrong with it. Always needed to repair this. Oh, transmission, this. I'll fix it. It's fine. I'll fix it. It's fine. And he would buy cars from people, from his customers all the time. You know, they'd be like, oh, they didn't want to pay the $2,000 it's going to cost to repair something, so my dad would buy it from them, and then he'd invest the time in less money, but mostly the time. And then, of course, he'd repair it, and he'd have a working car for a while, and then something else would break, and something else would break, until another person would bring another car in that was better, or whatever, and then he'd buy that, and that's the way it works. So, yep, alright, how far am I here? Let's see, so we are... It looks like I will have to go... I will have to take this part off. Alright. Power switch. I think the power switch part is all one big unit too, so there we go. So yep. So the power switch comes out in one piece. So we'll keep those two together. There. And where else? Oh, there's one hidden right here in the corner. You can see that right by the battery. This is 94. 1994 is when the Saturn came out. So this is looking at 25 years. All right. So this is what I needed to get to. Pop this off, and let's move that ribbon cable. I don't want to take it off. All right. So this is what you need to get to, because you need to take these clips off. These 4 screws. So those 4 off right there. So let's go ahead and pop those off. Here you can see. And these are, you're just removing these for clearance, and then I put it all back together. So this Saturn will never have a drive back in it again. I'm not one to sell my consoles unless I really have to. And this will probably be mine forever. I haven't recapped this one. It'll probably happen at some point. See, they just pop right off. So you can see right here, little clips, and there they go. So 4 of these come off. And again, I'm sorry, the camera. I've got the camera way over here. It's like pointing down and kind of at an angle. So let me see if I can bring it up that way. Okay, maybe that way I'm working over here and you can see it. I really need to get a better above camera view for when I'm doing stuff like this. I don't make any money from the Mid-Geek, so it's all investment on my part. Right? Alright, and let's pop this last one off. There we go. So that's it. They're all gone. And now we literally put it right back where it was. That's exactly what needs to happen. Here, so feed that cord through it. There. I will feed the ribbon cable back in. There we go. Let's put these 2 long ones in first, the 2 that were weird. So that so far is the hardest part of the install. Seriously, like if you watch the install video on Terraonion's site, you'd see that that's pretty much it. Drop it back in there. this. Put it at low so I don't overly torque it. There we go. That'll make things so much faster and easier. Is it magnetic? It is not. Of course not. Where are my magnets? Let's get a magnet. Magnet. There we go. Pro tip, add a magnet. That should then make it or magnetic. There we go. Low torque, low torque. All right, that's all back. Let's put the power switch back in. All right, over there. Yep. No, maybe. Yes. Okay. Lost the magnet, and of course the screw falls out. No, that's not where it went. Come on. Yay! Dropping the first screw of the night. That's always good. There we go. That's a weird one. It sits on top. It doesn't, like, it's got an extra hole here for to key in. Like, it's got a little peg hole there, but there's no peg there. It's weird. Right, when it goes back this way. Let's add the shield back in here. All right. So that's back in there. Let's go ahead and add all 4 pins touching. There we go. We'll add the 1 screw that's holding it down on this side. Boom, 1, and then 2 in the back. Here. Right, that's it. We're now ready. It's now nice and clean. So the idea here is with the mode. Right. You have, you can go right here. So the only pins that need to be installed are this one right here for the 21 pin, which will go right there. That's it. Just the ribbon cable. Right there, and then the 1. If you've got, I can't remember what the other brand is, but there's a different brand drive that it came with. It would require 2. but this mine only has one. So, and again, it's a 5-pin, so it'll go in the 5-pin socket right there. And I think, yeah, no, maybe this way. Whichever way it fits is the way it's supposed to go. No, come on. There we go. Okay. Now, these right here are essentially comes with a few, which is nice, because I will be using a few for the Dreamcast as well. So that's nice. So 3 and 3. We'll just definitely one, I guess, there. And this is the screw, these 2 screws that came with it that fell out are for the hard drive. So let me go ahead and grab that. All right. So here it is. Here's the crucial 1 terabyte. And this is essentially going to go right there. And that's it. So let's start this right here. Go to and 4. Hopefully the mic is picking me up okay. That's it, man. Like, it's installed. There's nothing more to that. Essentially, I would stick those down and then I would seal it back up. But since I'm doing this install on 2 different consoles, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it open like this. And let's say that I finished the install. Bada bing. There it is. There's no more drive in there, right? Like, you can see there's no more drive. So the next step is let's test this bad boy. What's going on? Yeah, right. It's that easy, Rolls. I mean, that's all it is. And you'll see what this does in a minute when I'm done. But it's pretty neat. So the cable that I'm using is one that I do not recommend. I do not recommend what I'm about to show you, but it is the easiest way to stream with one of these. If you've already got a capture card, one of the cheapo $30 Hyperkin or Pound or a bunch of other companies make these HDMI adapters for old consoles. Do not buy these. Don't. They're not good. They're not good for. They take a 240p signal and they treat it like interlaced, and then it's pushed up to 1080p. It adds all sorts of lag. The colors are bad, etc. But I didn't want to have my entire setup that I've got in my living room brought in here, so that I can plug it into a capture card. So this was cheap. It's $29, and it's $29 worth of crap. But it allows me to plug this to HDMI, and it works. So you'll get to see what it looks like. So again, this is not what I would recommend if you want to play games, because I have tried to play Street Fighter on this, and I can definitely feel the lag, for sure. So I'm gonna add my. This is my action replay. I'm gonna put that back in there, all the way in. My memory, so that's my 4 megabyte expansion as well, so it allows me to play certain games, certain Japanese games that require the memory expansion. So this will add the 4 megabytes for Saturn games, and then let's add power. So where's my power cord? Right here. All right, so I'm not going to power it on. I'm going to flip over. Alright, so there we go. So let me grab my controller real quick. Alright. Boop, 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 boop. Alright. So let's fire this sucker up and see what happens, right? That's always a good sign, right? No power. This is where it begins, right? Did I plug that in all the way? Did I plug the power cord in? Is this a good valid power cord? No, nada. Zip, zip, nada. All right. Oh, you know what would work? You know what would happen if I plug the power cord back in? How about that? I did not plug the power switch back in. That's my fault. So you do these things live. I'm trying to show off. There we go. Let's try that again. Aha, Saturn. Oh, let's move this over here, guys. Let's just do. There we go. We'll do widescreen and be done with it. All right. So let's plug in my controller. Oh my God, where'd I put the controller? I got the controllers here, but where's the dongle? Of course, that's what I need. Ah, here we go. So I'm using the Retrobit wireless controllers. I've talked about these before. They work great. I got the early editions and they had a couple problems with the C. I did a couple modifications and I cleaned them up, and so now the C button doesn't stick. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop that one in there. Use that one. Oh, there we go. There, right there. And I will plug that in. Sync it. And there we go. Boom, English. And just like every Saturn ever, the battery's probably dead. So look, what, 94? All right. We're just going to exit that out. And this is the first time I booted it up. Ooh, okay. So we've got that, which is not supposed to happen. Nope. Back up. System settings. Exit. Alright, so that's not supposed to happen. Let's double check the cord here, and I've heard that there's been some weird revisions sometimes that the cord might be put in backwards, etc. So let's try this one. Sometimes I've heard that might be the case. This looks like it's going to be the case just from the way I'm looking at the pins here and the way that cable is. So let's try that again. There's no notch on that cable. And let's take a look and see what it's doing here. All right, English. Turn it back on. Yep. Yep, exit. All right, so it detected it. So that means that you get there. There we go, the mode. No valid storage found. All right, that does not bode well for me. So, so okay, we're at one step further. The mode is detected. It's not detecting my solid state drive. So let's power it down and take a look. Okay, well, that took 8 hours to copy, by the way. 8 hours to copy from my USB 3 drive to this, a full 1 terabyte load of information. So, oh yeah, right. So this could be it. It could be that it's not powering enough, and that's right. You're absolutely right. The red and black cable. So there is a red and black cable right here. And this is where I have to look up and see that it might need it. So I'm going to try it one more time. But if it's not powering it up, then at that point I will go from there. This is using the Saturn 5 volt right now. So there is a switch here. Let me flip back over to this view. We can see. So it's a solid state, so it's less power than a hard drive, but it's supposed to pull all power from internal. At this point, it should work, but they did provide this, and this goes. There's 2 spots that you bridge it. I'm gonna take a look in a second. I don't want to end up putting it on 12 volt and blow everything up, but you plug this in right here, and it'll pull 5 volts directly from the Saturn power supply, which then will power this, which is great. Right now it's set to internal, so let me try powering it on one more time just to be sure, but I doubt it'll work. Let me flip over again. Yep. Boom, boom. Boom. No, down. There we go. That's right, Andrew. It doesn't use all of it. It won't work. Sometimes it needs more power for sure. So the mode is working, but it's definitely not reading the no valid storage found. Okay, good. So yeah. All right. So let's look at that here. Let's power this off again, and we will flip back over here. And where is my box for this? And there was a little flyer, and it talks about it. Let me just pull up the manual real quick. That is important because you want to see. I want to make sure that I get the right port here. Products. Mode. Okay, no. Okay, we got the manual up. Give me the port. Yep. All right, so it's going to be the first black goes in this one, and 5 volt is the second pin. So the best way to do this is you unscrew this. Let's take power off so I don't blow anything up here, and let's hit the power a few times there, and then I'm going to loosen this up a bit so that I can lift it just a tiny bit. Yeah. So this is the part where black goes in this one right here, and you want to just kind of shove it in there. It's going to go between the pins. I'm not thrilled with the way that this works. I wish that they had done something else for this. another way. Maybe some stiffer wire. Maybe a couple of like pogo pins or something. But just don't like that. But it's there. It's installed now. So there we go. It's now plugged in, ready to go, and we will plug that back in. Boom. So again, if you want to take a look here, I'll get closer. It's in that second pin and last pin. That's according to them. Want to be sure that's correct here. Right. So closest one, black. Second pin to the top is power. So that's 5 volts, 5 volt and ground. Excellent. Okay, so now that is done, now that this is mistake number 5, of course on a live stream, this is why you don't do things on live stream, right? You want to do this beforehand and then make a nice clean video like everyone else does and go, oh look, it worked, first try. No, that never works that way. So let's flip over to the other screen here, and I'm going to have to replace this battery again because it looks like it's... Oh, look at that. Hitting that power button and realizing I didn't plug the power cord back in. There we go. All right. Boom, boom. And I don't know if sound is coming through. I don't think it is. And I apologize for that. But see, mode is there. No valid storage found. Interesting. Oh, look at this. This is why, again, I forgot to flip the switch. There's a switch on here that tells you to use that port. Oh, excellent. Okay, so you're getting sound from the Saturn as well, Andrew? There we go. Boom. Got it. That's my fault. I forgot to flip that switch inside. Again, there's multiple steps, and I'm not reading the instructions like a good boy. I am doing this off the fly from what I remember reading. So, exit. Let's go through there. Road. Okay, let's try it again. Fifth is a charm. 6th, 8th. All right, Sega logo, good. It read it. Oh, mode. Reading game list. Okay, boom. There we go. So now, and there we go. Oh man. Ooh, let's see this game list here. I think we've got the entire Saturn library on here. Excellent. So, so many, a lot of good stuff. Ooh, Darius Gaten. This wouldn't be a Saturn if we didn't just try out. Let's try Championship Circuit Edition, Netlink Edition, which I think, what is that? That's like a, how many? What's that? $300 for that game? I think right now. It's so stupid. Oh yeah, we'll try that. We'll try Senshiro for sure. I didn't put my memory back in, so it's not booting with the. There we go. Look at that, Sega Sports, huh? I didn't realize that they put the Daytona USA under the Sega Sports license. I guess after the initial release, right? Daytona. I don't know. Does that start differently on Championship Circuit Edition? It should be singing Daytona right now. Netlink edition. Woo! Of course, we gotta do Dinosaur Canyon. Gotta check out that. Gotta do a Hornet. We'll just do that. Gentlemen, start your engines. Daytona! Oh, I love the Saturn. And I'm gonna. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's B. There we go. Ooh, delay with this capture card. But it'll work. This is Netlink edition too, right? So like this is like an online player. This is weird, like you play this with your Netlink. Which there's a group out there. There is a member of the Dallas Retro Forum that is working on this kind of stuff right now. Getting Netlink games back up and operational. For sure. Oh, I mean, this is, well, that's the thing, right? So this is still real hardware. We're just giving a little upgrade so that you don't have to use the discs, and that's one of the big advantages of this. I mean, some people could say that this is like, you're pirating, right? Like piracy, but I mean, Sega Saturn games have gone up in value to an astronomical amount. Almost impossible to purchase some of these games. And being able to just... being able to load these on a hard drive or a solid state or whatever allows you. I think you can still play this on VoIP. I think there's multiple ways of doing this. But yeah, again, having the entire so it boots up immediately. So do I have to hit reset? I haven't gone to the settings to change that, but I think you can. If you hit the reset, it'll take you back to the mode. But I did the three buttons, so ABC start. And that does a reset on the system. It's actually built into the Saturn. So this is the mode, right? So there has been a optical drive emulator. It's gonna just to power it off completely. There has been an optical drive emulator for the Saturn for many years, about 5 years now. He's the same guy that does one for the Dreamcast. Dwan is his name. He's kind of infamous in the community in the sense that he makes them, but he makes them in very small batches. He's based overseas. When he sells them, he puts them up online at like 9 a.m. on one day of the month, and you don't know that day until like the day before, where he'll post on his WordPress website that says, tomorrow I'll put them on for sale. And it's always at the bottom of a long blog post. So he'll talk about like all the projects he's working on. Then at the very last line, he'll say, oh, by the way, tomorrow I'm dropping a pre-order for the Phoebe or the Rhea or the Doc Brown or the GDEMU. And so those are the products that he sells. And they go for 130 euros, which is $160, give or take, $150. So it's cheaper than the mode, but you can't get it. Right, like it's almost impossible to get. Yeah, I think the one thing I don't like compared to it's a hard reboot. So I don't know. I think there's a menu option for it. So if I go to C, if I remember correctly, if I go to C here, so there is an option to reset. So reset the menu, normal reset. Reset up. I mean, there's multiple ways. I got to play around with it. Again, this is the first time I'm booting it up. But so there's been other optical emulators for this, so that you can put SD cards. I had one in here. I literally sold it to pay for the mode. The menu system was kind of archaic. The way you put the games on it, you had to label. You had to have the games in a specific format. Every folder had to be labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. You couldn't just drag and drop. It was a very archaic way of doing it. He refused to do any updates on it. He hasn't done an update on the menu system. I think the community wrote the menu, and he just made the disk emulator. I mean, it's a mess. Anywho, he's not. I don't want to talk bad about him, but he's not exactly the easiest person to work with. He doesn't work with the community in a way to go, hey, let me make this disk drive emulator for the community. Let me get in contact with these other guys that are making lots of things. We can mass produce these for the community. So it's almost been unattainable. If you did get one, you'd scalp them. If you went online right now on eBay and looked for RHEA, RHEA, which works with the Model 1 or the 20 pin, or the Phoebe for the Model 20 for the Model 2 or the 21 pin Saturns, just them alone go for about $300 from him. People are reselling $300. If you buy a Saturn with one in it, they go for about $600-700. It's silly, it's ridiculous, it's overpriced. It's only $130, $140 new directly from him. $160, sorry. And other companies have been trying to crack it, like trying to make another one, crack the code to make another drive emulator. There's been 2 other projects. Saturnator is one. Professor Abrasive is his name, and he is going to make a device that gets plugged into the movie card slot, so you don't have to remove your drive. And that project has been in the works for about 4 years, give or take, and he says he's done. He said he was done a year ago, and it's just been slow process. It's a one-man operation. He's a genius. Again, no bad-mouthing, but he's just taking a long time. Again, he wants to keep it to himself. I get it. He's making a lot of money off of it, and so the production of it is all done through one man. There's one called Fenner, Fenir, Fenir. Anyway, it's another moon around Saturn. Phoebe and Rhea are both moons around Saturn, and this one is made by one other guy that announced it in December, had it produced, and it's already for sale. You can find one every other Saturday. You can go on the website that sells it and buy one. The compatibility isn't as good as the Rhea or the Phoebe, but it's getting updated. But there's another option now. The mode was announced literally 2 months ago and is being mass produced by Terraonion. They're the same makers as the SSD3. The SSD3 is the drive emulator for the TurboGrafx PC engine. So you plug it in, you can drop an SD card and play all your games without having a CD attachment. These guys have a reputation of mass producing. They've had a reputation as well of doing some things where maybe they had a fault in their first edition. So maybe this thing might have a fault in it at some point because it's first of their run. But they've gotten big enough. They make the Neo Geo cart as well so that you can play games off an SD card. So this brand new is $200. But the difference is it's $200, and I can pull this out right now and drop it into a Dreamcast. So it is for 2 different... so you can go to Terraonion.com right now and buy one. And you will get it shipped pretty soon. They are produced, according to Todd, who is one of the heads of Terraonion on his Twitter, he posted that he is shipping out 100 a day. And they're coming from Andorra, country, in Europe. And... they ship them DHL. I got my shipping notification on Friday. I got it Thursday of this week, and because of the holiday weekend and all that, so it would have been faster if I didn't go through July 4th. But yeah, it's $200. Go pick one up. I think it's great. I mean, like I said here, let me show you again. There's the menu option. I can play more games. For sure. Let's try another game real quick. Again, you can take the drive out and keep it safe, but you can just put it right back in. So that's the nice part is right. So $200 to the States plus a hard drive and a solid state. That you're right, Andrew. But the nice part is it's flexible. So this has a solid state drive in it right now because I spent the money on a solid state. So I spent $99 to get a 1 terabyte solid state drive. But I've got 500 gig hard drives that you can drop in here, and there's no difference in load time. Go pick up a 500 gig hard drive. They're like $20. I mean, I find you pull them out all over the place. Just a regular laptop drive, load all the games you want on it, and there you go. Or pick up a SD card. It's got an SD card slot on it. Use an SD card. SD cards are cheap. 256 gig card goes for $30 now, and it's also got a USB port on it. So if you want to plug in a just a thumb drive, or maybe an external hard drive, run the cable into it. I mean, there's going to be multiple ways. There's a port for it too. So you have 3 options. You can actually have an SD card in here and a hard drive. Let's say I wanted to drop just my Dreamcast games on a SD card. Then I just plug it in and I'm good to go. So I would have the library of the Dreamcast, and then of course I would have to pull this out and put it in my Dreamcast every time. And that's not what I want to do. So I would definitely even a USB controller. Well, I don't think you can put a USB controller onto this. But I mean, again, the Saturn is kind of getting a small revival. You've had Retrobit put out controllers for it, actually branded through Sega. I've got the wireless Retrobit Sega controllers right here. They're 2.5 gigahertz. They're not Bluetooth, and they work really well. Yeah, so I think there's multiple options out there right now for the Saturn. This is definitely the more expensive of the options. But yeah, this will give you a way to play Saturn games and play games that are probably rare. I mean, obviously you would have to find them. If you're not familiar, where to find them. There's lots of places online, lots of places that archives them. So you could find them fairly easy. But I downloaded them. It took me a weekend to download. See, there we go. So that's my Sudokai. So that was another way of playing. I had a Sudokai cart on here that allowed me to just drop a copy game in here. But I didn't like discs. I don't like discs. Yeah, no, absolutely. You can play your original games if you want to, but again, keep your original games on the shelf, nice and happy. Copy them, put them in your CD-ROM drive, dump your own games, and that's what you're supposed to do, right? Dump your own games, use an image ripper or anything, and just rip them. I'm going to install it. I'm a novice. I think you could do it. I imported a Japanese Saturn with a non-working drive, and it should. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. Driving for. So this is my pseudo. I have this flashed. What's nice is this, once you've got this going, you could technically make more of these. So you can drop the ISO onto the mode, load up, and then just make more pseudo carts for people if someone wants one. So that's another option as well. Let's see here. Let's play some Lunar. Yeah. Yeah, Pip, so apparently this will still load, and then it loads. So I had read that if you have this in, it'll load the mode, load again, and then load the game. So that way you can still pick cheats if you wanted to. Some Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter. I don't think we got this one in the U.S. I think we got the arcade, but we didn't get the game ported here in the U.S. That's because it had Norimaro in it, which is a Japanese comedian, and he's definitely not. Let's go with Norimaro and Okuma. Yeah, I don't think it came out here in the U.S. There was an arcade version. I did play it in the arcade back in the day. And it came out after X-Men vs. Street Fighter, but before Marvel vs. Capcom. Bring in Norimaro. He's essentially worse than Dan. Let's see if I can do a super one. He throws pencils. Oh, the Dan versus Norimaru. the two best players, the two best characters ever in a Marvel vs. Capcom game. Well, it's not, right, Roll? So you pull the disk drive out. I mean, if you wanted to put it back in, you could, for sure. But at this point, you wouldn't want to use it, right? So one of the biggest problems with the Saturn game library is that they're early CDs, and because they're early CDs, there's a lot of games that are starting to get disc rot, right? So like some of these games are disappearing. They're no longer part of the. I've seen the pictures of them. I've had a couple games. I've pulled them out, and you'll see any micro scratches you would have gotten. The foil has started to there starts to eat away. The rot takes away, which destroys the game at that point. So this is a way to preserve them, to not use them. I mean, you can have them on the shelf. People have ripped and made copies of these games so that you can get them, because some of these games are impossible to find. There's a couple of games on this list. I mean, obviously there are, because I've got the entire library. Yeah, right. Enigmatica, you're absolutely right. Every time you pop the game open, you're always afraid that you might break one or scratch it. And some of these games, some of these Saturn's games go for. I know there's a $1,000 game out there. I can't remember the name of it, but there's definitely one that goes for about $1,000 easy, used. Right. So some games look like they've been played for 25 years for sure, and you definitely would want to preserve them. So this will allow you to still collect if you want to collect. Keep them on your shelf, use them for value, trade, whatever. There's still a lot of people that's part of the community, right? The retro community is playing retro games and then also kind of preserving and collecting. A lot of people like having the shelf, even though they might have a disc emulator like this with the entire library. So yeah, Panzer Dragoon. I think Panzer Dragoon goes for about $300-400, give or take, depending. It's definitely up there in price, and right now with the pandemic going on, there has been a spike. People have been wanting to play retro games at home. And because of that, some of these games... I mean, I think someone recently posted that they looked up the value of their Silent Hill games, Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4 on PlayStation 2. Those were pretty common games. They're not exactly... they're not super expensive games to find, but now they are. All three of them together were about $300 in value. I was like, are you serious? These are PlayStation 2 games. There's no reason they should be that high, but that's because people are wanting to play them right now. Each one of those are going for like $60-70. I think Silent Hill 3 was like $120 alone. It made no sense to me. So, not saying to rip these games or copy them or play, but some of these games are getting harder and harder to find, and there are no remasters. There are no ways to play classics, go on the virtual console. There is no Sega virtual console. There is very few games. We can play Sonic the Hedgehog 50 billion ways, but you can't play Panzer Dragoon Saga. That's pretty much it. You can't play it anywhere, and the only way to play it sounds like this. Japanese Radiant Silvergun, exactly. That's definitely it's an exclusive. There might have been one or two releases of it outside of the original, but I mean, if you want to play it, here you go. It exists now. You can download it and put it on something like this. And $200 is a lot of money, but at the same time, some of these games are $300-400. So, do you want to play games or do you want to collect? You can still do both, but yeah. Right, Rolls. Physical media will die. It will degrade, and I think carts. Like NES carts and N64 carts and all that, it's memory, so those will last even longer. But CDs, early CDs, CD technology in general, it's very thin. It will crumble and dissolve eventually. So let me take a look at these. There's ways to view this. So filter, action, adventure, compilation, DLC add-on, racing and driving. So apparently you can get it to filter all this. I haven't sat down and done this. You can even get it to view, there's all games. So left and right button flips through that. Z button chooses device, so it can go SD card or hard drive. So SD card or hard drive. And then the Y button. If I hit the Y button, I think that changes. Okay, so download the database. So I have to download it. So yeah, this will give you cover art. So you download a small database file, put it on here, and then you'll have cover art. So that's one of the nice parts that some of the other ones didn't have. It's got a better interface. You can have cover art. I think if I hit Y again. Okay, so that goes to game. So game list for cover art. So the nice part is once you download this, and I'm gonna get it set up and maybe do another stream live to do this. But once you get the database installed, it'll aggregate all sorts of information, including like when it was made, some cover art, etc. So let's say, for example, Alien Trilogy. No. You will need to download these. It comes with no games. So I have a hard drive that I downloaded all these in preparation for this. You could rip your own games. There are places to get them. Lots of places to archive them. And you can download them fairly easy. Just, look up archive, look up redump. The redump set, it's a group called Redump where their entire purpose is preservation. And they dump everything, including demo discs, different revisions of games, etc. It's a whole set. The whole entire Saturn library is about 1 terabyte. So ripping your own games, I've got a few. I don't need to. I haven't ripped my own, but you don't rip them in here. You put them into your computer CD-ROM drive. You can open up Image Burn. You can open up a bunch of different applications, and you literally copy it. There's no real copy protection in the method of copying. You create Redump. That's the group. So look up the Redump Saturn set. You'll find it. It's about a 1 terabyte download to have the entire library. And when I say entire, I mean entire, like all demo discs, 5 different versions of certain games because there was multiple revisions. Again, you can look at this list right here. I'll go back to the list view. But if you go on the list view here, you're going to see tons of copies. So disc 1, disc 2, disc 3, etc. But look, let's say for example, so I'm not at 1 meg 2 M3M. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it's definitely different versions of the game. So here's Alien Trilogy, Europe, Japan, Germany, USA. So this is the same game 6 times. Do I need that? No. I could come in here and print it out, and that would save tons of space. But why not? I mean, here's Andretti Racing, Europe, France, Germany, USA. And this requires no region mod. Once you have this on here, it'll play any version. Like I said, I was playing the Japanese version of Marvel Super Heroes Street Fighter without doing anything. So there's Panzer Dragoon RPG, disc 3, disc 4, etc. Let's Batman Forever. I don't know if you've looked at this crazy ass game, Batman Forever, the arcade. That goes up. That's I think a $60-$80 game right now. It's silly. There's a Battle Garega. That's a great shooter. Again, Japanese only. And it's a vertical shooter too, so you go tape. You can flip a screen. Will do. I mean, I there's a lot of games that I haven't played. I've played a lot when I had the Phoebe, but this will allow me to, because it has cover art, because it's going to give me a description of the game, it'll allow me to kind of browse on my Saturn. I don't have to pull up my phone and go, okay, what's some good games for the Saturn? And then kind of research before I go through my list. Electronic Arts, huh? But that was Japanese version. How weird. Battle Monsters. I'll check it out. Oh, there it is. Oh, I love shoot-'em-ups. But again, playing it on this adapter that I'm using there's lag. I hit the button and I can see there's definitely delay, especially on the stream. But again, if someone wants to look up what the price of this game is going for right now, like it's something I would probably not afford at the moment. I mean, as a collector, it'd be nice to trade for it, trying to find a way to get it, but it's nice that I can just play the game. Oh, there we go. First YouTube video with this, huh? some shoot 'em up games allow you to shoot bullets, like the bullets that are coming at you, your bullets kind of deflect them, and some don't. So like, if it gets too busy, I think the game gets a little hectic. Right. Keep them wrapped up. Oh my God! Right, 9-year-old, 10-year-old me, 12-year-old me telling me, hey, don't take that manual. Don't draw in that manual. That Ninja Turtle manual. Don't take that to school with you. It's gonna be worth money at some point. That kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I prefer being able to, because games get too chaotic and you can't move around. Anywho, yeah. So that's the mode on this. I'm gonna pop this into my Dreamcast. I'm gonna flip the camera real quick and we're gonna drop it into my Dreamcast, and do the install there. So again, I left it open, and I didn't click it down permanently. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull my power here. Had limited run. Oh, did it have a limited run print? That's weird. For the Saturn or for that? Huh. All right. So I'm gonna pull that out, pull this out, and pull this power pin out, and I'll leave that installed because I needed it. Now see that you barely pull it out. So I'm gonna use a different way to get the five. I'm gonna find 5 volts on here on the board and probably solder this down, make it permanent. That way I don't pull this out or it ends up falling out. I wish they had put maybe little pins in here. So the mode, again, the mode is just, so whatever the Saturn can do, the mode can do. The cable that I'm using is not the best. I have to reemphasize that. This is the Hyperkin. This cable that I'm using is the Hyperkin cable. I cannot recommend this. I don't want anyone to think that this is the way to play retro games. Hyperkin does a good job. This is entry level, but even then, spending a little money, the price of this right here was $30. I think for $50 you can buy the Rad 2X, which is what the name of the cable is, by Mike Chi. He's the same guy that does the Retro Tink and a couple other ones. Yes, it's harder to get. Yes, it comes from overseas. Yes, it's not instant gratification, but it's 2X, no lag, proper scaling of 240p to 480p. This is not the best way, but it is an easy way for me to plug it into my capture card without me having to drag in another device. That said, if you need something immediately, that's fine, but know that a cable, this matters, and this is not what I would recommend for someone that's going to set this up in their setup. Upgrading my cable, yes, I could talk for hours on, but I won't. And the reason I won't is because there's a whole group. Go look at My Life in Gaming, go watch their RGB 101, go look at their playing retro consoles on modern TVs. They've got a whole video on it. It's an hour long. They'll talk about OSSC, they'll talk about the Framemeister, they'll talk about the Retro Tink, they'll talk about all of the ones at the community. These are community made. These are cash grabs. These are companies like Retro, Hyperkin and whatnot, buying a cheap composite or RGB to HDMI adapter in here, and the scaling is not made for this. Yeah, My Life in Gaming. Just look them up. They're the best. They've been doing it for years. They literally have a RGB 101 series, and you can kind of go through and learn about signals, about upscaling, about, and some of those videos are not outdated, but the things have changed. And so there are some newer videos. Watch some of their newer stuff, and they'll talk about some of the changes that they've had. So they've got a whole video on the Retro Tink out right now, which is great because it's a cheap way of buying a simple device that will take composite or even S-video and take it up to 480p. So it does line doubling, 2x line doubling. So it'll give you 480p. Plug that up, plug 480p to a modern TV, and it'll look better than this. Yeah, no. I mean, you're right. It is definitely. I mean, look, I have 2 CRTs in this room. I could plug all this stuff up to my CRTs. I have a 36-inch Sony sitting right here and a 20-inch Sony. I mean, there's the 36-inch and there's the 20 inches right behind me right there. So I can play all the retro games I want on it. But I also have if you watch my channel, we talk about how we are geeks with a little more expendable income. We've got a family, and we spend money, and we've got more money than time. So I've got a nice setup, but I don't get a chance to play a lot of the new games. So being able to sit back and play some retro games for me makes me happy. Being able to spend a little more money to get some of these retro games to look great. Plugging a Saturn into an OSSC and going 5x or 4x on a 4K TV, making everything look sharp and crisp is absolutely amazing. It's breathtaking, actually, when you get to see it. So there's multiple things that you can do. My Life in Gaming, start with them. They'll teach you what you need to know. I'm a rambler. I'll ramble about what you can do. They're very precise about it. If I was to write down and create a lesson, it would be probably precise, but I don't need to rehash or reinvent the wheel. Go watch them. Anywho, let's pull this out. So we've got the mode out, and set it aside. We'll set my Saturn aside here. Now, this Dreamcast is a little different. This Dreamcast has been modified. This Dreamcast has an internal HDMI 1080p mod. So this bad boy right here has already got something in it to play games off of ST. This is the GDEMU, what I was talking about earlier. It is a clone. This is one of the downsides of not releasing your product easily for people. China got a hold of it, and they ripped off his design. Oh, thanks, Enigamic. I appreciate it. We've got a channel. We go live every Tuesday. We've got a show. We've got multiple episodes. This right here is my side of the hobby. The other side of the hobby is my partner Pedro. When he does tabletop and all that, and we talk once a week, and I'll fill you in on stuff. I'll do little videos like this during the week when I can. But I figured I'd do this because I just got this in, and I was like, let's show this off, right? All right, so this bad boy right here is already modded, ready to go. I could play games off my ST, but the menu system is a little archaic. It's just a list. It doesn't give me the nice happy feelings as the mode, but I'm going to try it out anyway. So people ask me, hey, can you show the mode on the Dreamcast? And I'm going to do that. So I'm going to pull the modem out. And let's get to it here. You know what? I'll use my... So this is the Black Sports Edition. Do I have a screwdriver in here that'll fit? I have ones that will not fit. Hilarious. All right, let me go get this is what you don't do, right, on a live stream, is walk away from the camera. Let me go get a screwdriver real quick. And I'm back. This used to be where I was doing a lot of my mods, and I moved stuff out to a little workstation out by the garage. And now I've been doing that, but at the same time, That also means that I've moved a lot of my tools out there. And so I was not fully prepared to do the stream tonight, but I figured let's do it now. So it happens. The Dreamcast again is very easy to take apart. It is 4 screws, not even 5 like the Saturn. The Saturn is 5. Yes, the 1080p one is absolutely fantastic. The VGA adapter, yes, some games act funny, but you can set it to 240p because it's pulling. Some of the games they won't all work like the. That's the best way to put this. I think Hydro Thunder is one that doesn't work through VGA, but you can force it to work with your 1080p because you force it using RGB. It's different. It's definitely better. I think the cream of the crop is the DC HDMI by Dan Kuntz, which is or the DC Digital as it's called now. Yes, it is an expensive mod. Again, I invest in my retro systems. It is $150, and then you have to get it installed. It is not an easy install. I fix retro, my retro fix, a few other people. My buddy Mark here in the Dallas area, he did my install, and the only reason he did it is because he had a microscope that he could go through because there is very fine soldering points that even I was like, nope, I'll just throw money at it. Let him do it. So he did the HDMI install for me, and I thank him very much every day. But I do have some mods in here as well. I have a 3D printed piece that goes in here, and this piece right here that goes over the GDEMU. So this is a GDEMU right here, and it is a clone, as you want to call it. It is not made by Dwayne, and I would have loved to buy it from him. But his window is open for like 30 minutes before he sells out, and it's once a month, and you don't know when he's going to sell the GDEMU. So this is a Chinese copy that works just fine. I can't update, but I don't need an update. It plays everything except I think there's 2 games that have some cutscene problems: Code Veronica and Skies of Arcadia. And I think those are fixed with the mode. So if I was to invest in another mode, I could essentially not have to deal with it anymore. So, yeah. Alright, so this, like I said, this works. I don't need to install this on here. But I'm going to because I want to see how it works. For sure. And that's it. Your Dreamcast drive goes right here. You unscrew 4 screws. You unscrew 4 screws. 1, 2, I think 3, 4, and then you pop it off, and that's it. That's the only connector. So these right here, this is it. This works. If you want to play games off of an SD card on a Dreamcast, go get one of these. Go on eBay. They're $50. This board right here is about $50, $50-$60. Order it and plug it in and drop an SD card. Go online and look at a tutorial on how to load your games on it, and you're good to go. You'll see I'm going to use this card in my mode because the games are on here. Yeah, much easier than the Saturn. The Saturn definitely has a couple more steps. That's what I saw originally, but yeah. So this is. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and essentially just line this up. And I think we're going to take these off. Or take one of them off, I think, right? Yeah, I don't think I need the one closest to the bottom right, so I can get that in there. Okay, well let me see here. The install is fairly simple, but the board is definitely bigger. For sure, so I've got to see how it lines up. I'm sure the instructions tell you this, and I'm being silly and not pulling up the instructions in front of me. I could, let me take a look here. I've got my mouse right here, and I can just look at one of the 50 monitors I've got. Dreamcast install, Take that off. Take that off. All right. So for the Dreamcast install, they want you to pull. They want you to pull the those things exactly. Yes, for the GDEMU, it takes a little fine tuning. It's a fairly it needs to be a FAT32, I think, is what it needs to be. You FAT32 the SD card, and then you can use a program called GDEMU Menu Maker, made by Mad Sheep, I think is what it's called. There's not even a real place to download it. You'll find it on a forum somewhere. It's 1.10, I think, is the last version that was made. It's a mess. It's a mess. He doesn't even provide tools. You would have thought, hey, here's a link to this. Go and download it, and it's a mess. So, yeah. So I'm gonna pull the drive off because it doesn't have any Dreamcast games on it. I could. That's the nice part, is if I wanted to, I could have dropped a folder of Saturn, just call it Saturn, or a folder called Dreamcast, put my games on either one, and it'll detect the games depending on the system. The problem is I don't have any on here. What I do have is I have them on the SD card, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop them out of here. Yeah, seems legit. Exactly, Andrew. Totally makes it easy. So I'm just going to take this SD card, and I've got a 256 on here. So again, I'm just going to clip that there, right there. It totally, and you go to a Mega link or something to download the tool. It's a mess. It is a mess. I think, like I said, I don't want to down talk the guy. I think the guy's a nice guy. I think he does great work for the community. He did great work by inventing it. But, yeah, he didn't make it easy for people to buy. He got mad when it got ripped off. And I agree, if I had invented something and someone made a copy of it, I'd be mad too. But at the same time, I would have been like, oh man, maybe I should have ramped up production, and made it easier for people to buy my product without going to China, or maybe lower the price of mine, or maybe go, hey, let me take my product, let me take this thing right here and give the plans to someone else, make them give me a cut, and they can mass produce these, always have them on the shelf, and then this wouldn't have probably been made. That's the sad part, right? Like, there's really no need to make this when you have this, because this is technically cheaper, but it's not, because the clone is cheaper. The original is still 120, and you can't buy it. This is 200. And I could technically, if I really wanted to, have two systems and pop them in and out. It's a little much of a hassle, but $100 per device, I guess, is the way we put it. If you cut it down the middle, I don't know. Anywho, I'm not gonna put the retaining. I'm just gonna hold it down like that for now. I guess I could put one right here, but I'm not. I'm gonna live dangerously. I've got the SD card in, and I'm gonna grab my HDMI cable, and I'm gonna have to do something silly. I'm going to have to crawl under. My machine is down here in a little cart, and I have to unplug. I didn't put a HDMI splitter to have two devices plugged in, so my Saturn cable's plugged in, and the Saturn doesn't have the Saturn device, or doesn't have a HDMI cable plugged into the box right here. So it's a single cable to the back of my capture card, and it's an internal capture card. So 1 second. There we go. Plugged in. I should have gotten a Saturn controller, right? Maybe I should have done that. I mean, he could have still gotten a cut, right? Like, I don't feel for the guy. I would have felt for the guy if this had been ripped off, or this would have happened maybe year one of his production. But he has been doing the GDEMU project and producing it for about 5 years, 7 years now. It's been a while. The guy's a genius, obviously, right? He cracked the code earlier than anybody. I'm not doubting his brain. He did a great job. I question his business acumen. If I would have saw that there was a need for it and people were chomping at the bit for retro gaming, I would have been like, well, shit, I can't make these fast enough. Can I get some help? let me partner up with another company and they can mass produce these, and then they can put them on a website, like an actual website, or that they can handle the pre-order process. Hey, let me pre-order this and it's going to ship in a couple weeks. Okay, fine. But no, you can't even do that. You can't even buy it and go, hey, let me wait 2-3 weeks. No, you when you buy it, you're going to get it, but getting into the window to buy it was hard. It's silly. But yeah, last thing, let me grab my my Dreamcast controller, because of course I forgot that. All right, back here. So, no, he didn't kickstart it. Rolls. He did. Like I said, he's a genius, man. Go look it up. Go type in GDEMU, and you're gonna get to a WordPress site. Like, no joke. The URL is like gdemu.wordpress.something, and he's brilliant. Again, Dwan, if you ever see this video or someone sees this, I really want to say that the guy's a freaking genius. He's obviously smart enough to do this. But it's all in his head. He doesn't have many people working for him, if he does at all. And he produces, like, he orders the boards, and then he gets them, and then he does the final soldering by hand before he ships them out. So he can only do batches of like 50 at a time, and he's got multiple projects. So let's say in February, he says he's going to do GDEMUs. They'll ship out in 3 weeks. March, he's like, I'm going to do Phoebes this time. Not Phoebes and Rias, Phoebe only. So that means that if you've got a Saturn, you have to have a Model 2, not a Model 1. So then you're waiting. And then you're like, oh, well, what's the cycle? Is he going to do now Ria next? No, he goes, oh, I'm going to do another GDEMU run. And then he goes, oh, I'm going to do the, check it out, check out his website. Now I'm going to do Doc Brown, which is for the FN Marty, another system. And so he's a genius. He's the only guy that does it. Like, or he was, right? Now we've got the Mode, and we've got Fernie, and we've got Saturnator coming out. But honestly, man, like, you were obviously the genius that cracked the code for the Dreamcast and the Saturn way earlier than everybody. Almost 100% compatibility with every game on Saturn and Dreamcast. Why didn't you mass produce? You could have kept selling them at $150. You could have just gotten a smaller cut and made more money right up front. But now, this is out. Terraonion is pumping these out. You can go on the website and buy one right now. Give someone your money. Saturnator could go down the same path. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. That's a Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, but a Patreon supporter. You support him, and eventually you'll get an option to buy it. That's what he said just recently in his most recent post. I give him $1 a month. I was giving him $5 for like over a year, and I eventually backed off to $1 so I can just read his news posts, because all his news updates were behind a paywall. Again, genius, but he wants to do it all himself and doesn't want to go through China, I think, and with the pandemic, it backed him up even longer. And anyhow, I'm going to try 2 different controllers. But right now with the pandemic, he won't even ship to the U.S. rolls. So since March, he's like, I'm not shipping to the U.S. So even if he did do a run for the GDEMU, he's like, no, I don't want to ship to the U.S. because there are restrictions going on. When everyone else is shipping to the U.S. still, I don't get it. I don't get it. Anywho, I'm going to try 2 different controllers on here. This one was a Kickstarter. It's by Retro Fighters. This is the new Retro Fighter Dreamcast controller. It's great for fighters, supposedly. I'm a little on the fence on it. I haven't done a review video on it, but I think if you had the opportunity to make a new Dreamcast controller and you're a company called Retro Fighters, you didn't add 6 buttons on the face. Okay, and then of course the original Dreamcast, which I have no problem with. A lot of people don't like it. They think that this was a better deal. I have no problem with this. Anyway, let's plug this in. Get some power into this Dreamcast. And let's plug in the HDMI. Boom. Put it in down here because my cord isn't long enough, and I'm going to flip over to the other view real quick. Boom. So I've got scan lines turned on. Let me turn those off because it looks funny on this for sure. Yeah. Your battery's not charging too. Gotta have to fix that. There we go, mode. Let's see here, device card. Is it gonna read anything? Card? No, it's not gonna read it. And that's just because I've got the folder layout of the GDEMU, so I do not have the Mega SD. I would like it. I don't know if I have a need for it. I've got the X7. And I've also got yeah, that's it. It's easy. So you saw how quick it was. It works. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna turn this off real quick, and I'm gonna do something that I didn't want to do on stream, but I guess we can keep talking. And what I'll do is I will just drop a few games onto an SD card, onto a USB. So let me flip this real quick, and we can just keep chatting here. Oh, look at my face. There we go. Hello. And we will get this set up. But I'm going to plug this USB stick in here. And I'm going to literally do it. I mean, I could flip over and show you my computer, but I'm literally all I'm going to do is drag and drop a few games on here. And see how easy it is, right? Like, I haven't done this. Let's go to my folders, the mini folders with Dreamcast stuff. All right, here. So what's a game? Let's drop a game on here. What should I drop on here? So first off, let's format this into maybe exFAT. Okay, boom. Done. All right. So now let's go to NTSC US, and let's put some Crazy Taxi. That's good. Crazy Taxi. What else? Marvel's Capcom 2, of course, right? Marvel's Capcom 2. We'll do some Project Justice, one of my favorites. Some Power Stone 1 and 2. Soul Calibur. Some Soul Calibur. We'll do some Virtual Fighters 3. What else here? Capcom versus SNK. Maybe Cannon Spike. Also a game that's it. We'll throw those on there, and we shouldn't take too long to copy those over. It's 8 gigs worth of info on a 64 gig card. It's moving. Says 12 minutes. It'll probably speed up in a second. It's a USB. I don't know. It says not USB 2, so whatever. See what it's copying first. Maybe I'll just stop it after it's done copying a few. I use Terra copy here to show me what. All right, so it's copying some. I think it's copying Virtual Fighter 3 first. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the retro community in general is pretty good about supporting people. A lot of people just want the clone. They want to rip people off. I've seen people comment like, "I can't wait for the Terraonion to get a clone," or "I can't wait for the PSIO to get a clone so I can spend $20 less than supporting the original creator. Again, I want to emphasize that this is not anything new. We have been able to do this with the Saturn and the Dreamcast for a while, but because of the nature of the creator and the fact that we couldn't get this stuff, it makes it harder to support the guy. So I wish him well. I hope that he sees that other people are like, there's no need for his product anymore. Maybe there is. $130 versus $200, or no, £130 or euros, which ends up being like 160 pounds. So it's $40 cheaper for his product, but I can go somewhere and just buy it. Maybe. That's an interesting role. That's an interesting concept here. Like, what do you think they're thinking? I would hope that the developers see that people still have love for their hardware. I know that developers of some of like the little retro systems, I've got a bunch of the little mini retro systems. There are text files in there by the developers that they left on there that says, play safe, or what, because they left them there for people that eventually were going to mod it, go on there and find the way in and drop their own their own ROMs on there. And I think that developers have always, I want to believe altruistically that everyone wants to be paid. I don't feel like piracy is something that needs to happen, but hardware engineers are tinkerers. They tinker. They wouldn't be engineers. They wouldn't enjoy hardware. So they might leave little clues, little ways in, or maybe they lock it down and then they feel like no one can get in. And then when someone does get in, they feel maybe vindicated that, hey, someone got in. I mean, we've been able to play copied Dreamcast games since like year one. But being able to develop a piece of hardware that mimics their entire drive system and play with modern SD cards and solid state drives and whatever is kind of amazing, right? Like the level of engineering that it takes to take a hard drive, go to a SATA bus, from that SATA bus, go and act. It has to emulate the drive, the original Sega drive, and then fool the hardware into going, hey, I'm the real drive, I just got a CD in, let me in. And the drive and the actual motherboard of the device goes, hey, I work. It's kind of amazing. I think that is incredible. I know that CDs aren't going to last forever. We've talked about it before. And this is a way to keep playing original hardware. I don't want to have to constantly use an emulator. There's nothing wrong with emulation, being able to drop a Dreamcast emulator onto your computer and play some games. But being able to, there's something amazing to be able to plug this console into your TV and play a game on the original hardware. There's something cool, nostalgic almost about it, and I think that's important. So preservation doesn't have to be keep everything mint. It can be improvement, quality of life improvements, right? People do it in the gaming scene. There's ROMhacking.net is a full website dedicated to retro games and patches, either translation patches or quality of life patches, which I think are amazing. You should really go on there. Go find your favorite game. Go find Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Go find one of my favorite, Castlevania: Symphony of the Night. Go find Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening on Game Boy. Those games are amazing games, but there are some bugs in it that were never fixed, or things like maybe the text is too slow. Or a good example is Link's Awakening. If you ever play the Game Boy version, every time you pick something up for the first time, or pick something up, he goes, oh, I found this. I'm like, how many times are you going to tell me that's a piece of power? Like, how many times are you going to tell me that? So being able to take that game and have someone patch that out so that it only does it once and then never does it again is kind of cool. It's like an update for a game. And then you patch the ROM, and then you put that onto a flash card, and then you plug it into your Game Boy, and then you play this game again. Yeah, speed running that's a whole other section of the retro community for sure. Speed running is amazing. I love watching them. speedrunners will play a game over and over and over again and break a game. They want to find the bugs, find the exploits, so that they can kind of speedrun it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think, yeah, I think you're right. Okawa would have been totally happy that people are still dedicated to the Dreamcast. That in the year 2020 we got a product. In the year 2020, we had Xenocrisis released for the Dreamcast. Like an actual new game was released for the Dreamcast, and that's amazing. That's amazing. I think that's super cool, and people are always saying, "I wish we had retro consoles." And there's I think the Evercade is the new little handheld retro console that's being made by Blaze. And I read some good reviews on it that, it's a cartridge-based system. There is no OS on it. You just drop a cartridge and it plays games on it. It still emulates, but the idea is that it's a retro system at heart. I think we should just look into taking old systems like this and improving them. Quality of life. Being able to add 1080p, but being able to still load and homebrew on it. And so Dreamcast is still a valid system. I think it's a fantastic system that you can still play games on it. I think it was ahead of its time. There's the Dream Pi program. You can take a Raspberry Pi, create a server on it, plug it into your modem, and then you can play online. There's still a community that plays Phantasy Star Online on Dreamcast in 2020. That's amazing to me. Yeah. I did. No one would have thought 20 years ago. I mean, I power up that Saturn and the clock is like, it's 94. And I'm like, it's not 94, buddy. It's the year 2020. And I got to change your battery, so you stop asking me that. But it's amazing that I want to power you up to play a game because I think that you still had some amazing games. You had a complete game. A game. Woo, restream, thank you. There wasn't DLC that there was no patches, so the broken parts of the code were there permanently, forever. So I think it's double-sided. So doing stuff like this is still being able to play a game, but maybe preserve it. It's if anyone is into the car modding scene, there are people that like to play everything or like to drive everything original. They restore everything to 100% original. They want to have the original handles, the original steering wheel, the original logos. They don't want to use any reproduction. And that's commendable. That's beautiful. The problem is sometimes these guys spend years looking for one little part because it can't be found. And then there are the modders that mod cars that do modern, I can't remember what it's called. It's like modern resto. So they'll maybe take out that engine, that inefficient inline six in that old Cadillac, and they drop an LS, and V8 450 horsepower into a system, into a chassis that never handled that. So then they upgrade bushings and do all that. But it's still a beautiful old car with a new heart. So I think that is the same way we got to really approach retro consoles, where systems are still, like, the heart of it is still a Saturn. The heart of it is still a Dreamcast. You're still pumping original software through it, but there are more efficient ways to do it. Solid state, hard drives, USB, taking those games and feeding it back into the hardware. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 3D printing. I mean, we've gotten better and better at that kind of stuff, being able to print in ABS and nylon so you can make certain parts that didn't exist anymore. I mean, you've got a working old part, take it, scan it, design it, go into AutoCAD, recreate it, then send it to your printer. And there you go. You've now recreated a part that's maybe a functional part, a part that goes inside of it. And people do that all the time. I mean, I showed you guys that here's this mod. Here's this awesome mod that this guy created, but he didn't make it very efficient, right? He just dropped the board in there, and to get the SD card in, you had to kind of feed it in and put your hand into the shell. It wasn't so. Someone, Laser Bear, actually is his name. Greg, I forget his last name, but laserbear.net, I think is what it is. He created this model, and it's essentially a model with a SD card extender that goes here, and then it comes out here, and I can just clip, and then it sits flush with the inside of the Dreamcast, and it has a button for the this little button right here is for next disc. Flip, go to, like, if it's a multi-disc game, You can just click this button and it goes. It's like you loaded the new game. But yeah, this is neat. This is something that the community came up with, and it's just funny because he approves of that. It's just, again, I saw Laser Bears doing one for the mode. I haven't seen how it's gonna sit. Seeing the way that this works is I don't know where I don't know how it's gonna work. I'm interested to see how it's gonna work. So I saw that he wants to do one that works with more than one. He wants to do one for the mode that also works for the Fenner. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. When he puts out the STLs, I'll print one out and install it. But for now, it's going to be a hard drive shoved into a Saturn. But let's see here. I've got 7 gigs of 8. I'm loading Project Justice, and then I will stop. Soul Calibur can wait. It's another gig. It says 3 minutes. 2 minutes? Let's see here. Come on. Chug, chug, chug. Project Justice. Again, underrated system that Capcom needs to bring back. Underrated game that Capcom needs to bring back. Project Justice was a fantastic game. Come on. Let's see if these work. I mean, I don't know how these are going to work. GDI rips should work. I think they said they would work, so I don't see why not. That's all that was unloaded. No. It renames the files when you put them on the GDEMU. It's a mess. The GDEMU method is a mess. So this is going to be cool. All right, what are we at here? Okay, we'll stop there. Close that. Let's go to the drive here. We'll delete the Soul Calibur folder because it started it. I don't want it to break anything. All right, so I dropped a few games on there. Let's unplug this. Boop, boop, boop. Let's plug it into the Dreamcast. We'll plug it into here. I will say that is a tight fit for the USB. There we go. Woo, that is a tight fit. For sure. Alright. Plug that back in. Boom. And boom. And then we will turn it on. Let me turn those on. Oh god, why am I widescreen? Device hard drive. Oh, that's right. I still had the switch flipped for power, external 5-volt power. So let's see what happens there. Maybe that means that it wasn't pulling 5 volt from the. I don't know. I realized that I had the switch still turned on for the Saturn. I gotta turn those things off. It's not reading it. Maybe my formatting is wrong? That's interesting. I thought just dragging and dropping would work for the Dreamcast. It's not. I did drop GDI files. Let's double check here, make sure that there's nothing. Either exFAT or FAT32. Each CD mode supports nested folders. Right. I am baffled. Maybe it doesn't like. I don't know. Let's turn it off again. Let's figure this out. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here. I don't think I am though. But the Dreamcast is supposed to be easier than the Saturn for sure. Let me prop this up. Let me add one of these little feet in here, so that there is some sort of stability over here. Okay, there we go. 5 volt external, 5 volt internal. I'm going to make sure that's the case there. And yeah, I've got the drive plugged in, and I've got the no. So I realized that I can't actually have. Let me switch the camera real quick. So the hard drive and the USB are kind of in a weird place, right? So here, the hard drive can't fit in here with the USB. It actually blocks it, so I can't. So here's you can see here the USB port. So I've got the USB stick plugged in here, and it says for low profile using a USB extender, you be careful plugging in the USB device to prevent damage. Yes, I get that. Thank you. But right now I've got the low profile one for sure. It's plugged in there. It's nice and tight. I put one of these feet in here to add some stability right there. And so here's the drive connector. And it's obviously reading, right, because it's booting up. And it's going. But I will say, I am going to say this, that my right, so USB and SSD or SATA won't work in conjunction, which is interesting to me. I would have thought that they would have made it, whatever. So I think it detects it as hard drive either way. But that said, here we've got a USB, and I had the SD card in there, and it wouldn't read any one of them. I've seen people plug in their SD card from their Phoebe, and it just shows up numbered folders, but it's not even reading folders on mine. So that's interesting to me too. I will say one thing, which I'm gonna test right now. Real quick, let me turn my camera. So my Dreamcast is modified. This power adapter, or my power is missing the 12 volt rail. I do have the 12 volt regulator pulled out for cooling purposes for the GDEMU. So you pull this out because you don't need 12 volts, but I'm wondering if this needs 12 volts and it's not able to pump anything. So I do have another power supply for a Dreamcast, because of course I do. I am in the middle of rebuilding a Dreamcast, another one, and I have not pulled out the regulator on that one. So I'm going to keep this and pull this out real quick for testing purposes. And this is a non-modified PSU, so non-modified power supply unit. Let me see if I can show you guys here on the camera. Whoop, camera, come on. There we go. Hello. All right. So I'm going to focus in right here. Okay, so this is the power adapter, and right here, this is where it plugs in. This one right here, this little screw, that is a 12 volt regulator. That, when you unsolder that there's 3 prongs right down here. These 3 little prongs right here, 1, 2, 3. You unsolder that and you pull this out. That eliminates the 12 volt line. If you use a GDEMU or without a CD-ROM drive in there anymore, 12 volts aren't being used, so this heats up, which causes heat in your Dreamcast. This is with the GDEMU. So one of the mods is either get a third-party power supply unit. There's something called like a Dream PSU or a couple of other ones, or a Pico drive or whatever, or modify your original ones for cooling. This one hasn't been modified yet, so I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try again with my. I'm all tilting out. My camera's all tilted now. Who knows why? There we go. So, yeah. I'm going to try it one more time. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to swap out power supplies, and then that'll tell me. All right? So I'm going to put the SD card back in because it's supposed to work in conjunction with two. You're supposed to be able to have a SD card and a USB in there. And so it's all plugged in, ready to go. Now flip over. Okay, here, so we're back up. Device hard drive, nothing. I am not seeing it. Let me flip over to the SD card. Oh, I should probably plug in my controller again, right? Okay, nothing. Okay, so this controller isn't even working in here. Is it having problems with that controller versus the original? Let's plug my original controller that came with the system. I feel like it's like locked up or something. I can't, I'm hitting Y, it won't flip screens. Nothing. Okay. Maybe it's not giving enough power. Let's pull that power adapter out. That PSU out. And swap it. One. Two. And that's it, folks. Two screws. Let me flip it back over to this. Boom. All right. So I pulled out mine. Again, this one is missing. You can see right there, there's no screw there. It's missing the 12-volt regulator on there for cooling purposes for the GDEMU. So this is something that I don't think I've heard anyone talk about. If the cooling or if the mod for the 12-volt regulator causes problems. And let's put this one back in. Come on, there we go. All right. This power supply is in. I'm not going to put the screws in. I'm just going to put that back in, this back in. Power's on. Let's flip over to that. It's booting up. Device not ready. At least it's not frozen. It allows me to go back and forth. I'm baffled. I can't get it to work on the Dreamcast right now. I might have to play around with this. It's interesting to me. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I am definitely perplexed here. I don't know if maybe I need to update something. Maybe something is causing it not to work. Here is the USB stick I had in there. My SD card in it. Let me try one last thing. I know this drive worked. I do have some space on it. Maybe I can drop one game on here. Put just the folder Dreamcast on there and see what happens. All right, we will go in here and oh sure, I'm sure they do, and I will go to that. I will go to their group after all this, after I turn off my stream, of course, if I can't get it to work. But the idea here is I'm trying to figure what would I do, like how would I figure this out. So I've got the update file that they even firmware update sitting there on the core of their drive, like they said you're supposed to have, and that didn't work. So I'm confused about that. According to to update firmware, just place this file in the root of your SD card, which I'm not using an SD card, I'm using a once the firmware process started, you won't power up. Okay, well maybe I do need to put it on the SD card and it'll update. I can try that. So let me put that. No, here's the. So, alternate, you can install the firmware from the hard drive by copying the firmware file to the hard drive root, and then in the mode menu while browsing the hard drive device, select option and then check update. So I might have to do that as well. So I'm going to drop this file copy, update, paste. Alright, so the update file, the firmware update. Yeah, he had a problem with the Saturn, but he had no problem with the Dreamcast. So now I've got the opposite, right? So that's what I'm going to try it out. So I'm dropping the update file for the firmware update on the SD card, and I've got it on the hard drive. And then also I'm going to go ahead and on the hard drive side of things, I'm going to name a folder called Dreamcast. Okay, and then I'm going to put one game on there, just one. Let's see here. Turbine runs Dreamcast. Infinitely faster copying. And let's heck, I'll just do a few games on there just for the sake of it. Yeah, Mad Little Pixel had some issues with his Saturn, and then he was going back and forth with them, and they did an update, and it was apparently he had a revision of the Saturn that they hadn't tested, and they said they tested like 50 different revisions. So that's kind of amazing that many versions of the Saturn existed. The Dreamcast has like 3, I think. All right, so there's a folder now called Dreamcast with a few games on it, and the update file, on the SD card. So let's go back here. Solid state drive out. SD card out. All right, so now let's go back over here. So again, mode, I'm going to go ahead and put the SD card in. I'm going to put the drive in. Right, well, I gotta be, right? Like, I don't want to retrace my steps multiple times. I've done enough mistakes in this stream. So there we go, 1 terabyte drive plugged in, SD card plugged in. It can't use USB because it blocks it. Like, I think they did that on purpose. At first I was like, why didn't they put the USB slot facing the other way? Or maybe to the back so that you can drill a hole or no, but I think they did it so that you know that if there's a drive there, you can't use it. So, interesting. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plug this back in. Come on. Drive connector isn't that hard to get in. It's harder when all of this is plugged in. Plug all of this again. Unplug the power. That's why I'm going to unplug the power. Charge that. Okay. That's being silly now. Come on. I had you plugged in here earlier. Obviously, you were booting up and loading. I think that's in. Here we go. Yep, it's flat. It's flat. Plugged in. I don't know why that took me longer that time. That's the nature of the mods. Nothing ever works the first time you want it to. It's like PC building, right? You build something and then something fails and just doing the dance. Back and forth until you get it going. Alright. Back here, we'll turn it on. I gotta turn off those skin lights. I don't remember the hotkey for it. I always forget. Oh, update available. Awesome. So it read the update and it read it from the SD card, I think. Let's hit A to update. So that's good. Saturn firmware update. So this is a live view of what the firmware update looks like. And I've already registered my serial number, people. So my serial number is already registered in my account. So you can't get in. I really wish they didn't put that right up front, because that means that every time you turn it on, if you're streaming, someone would see that serial number, and they could then take the firmware. So they did the firmware so that they don't get ripped off, and I get it. All right, we're rebooting. Yeah, stream sniped, right? Like, haha, serial number. Too bad, I already took it off my device and I had to go online to register it so that I could get the firmware update anyway. So, that 1.01, okay, good. Aha! It reads that. And if I flip, no games found on the SD card, even though there's a bunch of folders there. But that's fine. It found games off of the hard drive. So, Alright, so if I load Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And I need to... What is the freaking key command here to get into the menu? Success! I think, right? Are we loading still? See a black screen here. Oh, there it goes. That took a while. That's interesting. This is not my memory card for it. Left trigger, right trigger, Y, B, start. I don't know why I go into widescreen. I think it's weird. I'm gonna have to take a look at that in a minute. It's in widescreen now for some reason. There we go. We are. We're working. Yeah, I'm wondering if the USB will work now. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know. I have scan lines turned on, and it looks weird in the capture card because it's scaling them. It looks weird. But that's the Dreamcast up and running off of the hard drive. Yeah, the lag with the capture card. There's a delay. Sit down, Strider. Got him. Oh, there we go. He's not going to take my hits. Got him. So that works. That works. I don't know why it wasn't. I don't know if I didn't install it right. I'm confused. It wasn't reading the card before. The update was there. Yeah, I was doing it. There is lag because it's going through the HDMI to the capture card, and then the HDMI is clean. I wish I could show you. I don't know why it's not clean. I don't know if it has something to do with the mode and the way that the key so there's a key command. So it's left trigger, right trigger, Y, B, start, and that's supposed to bring up the DC HDMI menu, but maybe that's conflicting with something on the mode. I don't know. I haven't done my DC HDMI update in a while. Either way, I'm going to end the stream, guys. I have been on it for a while. It's almost 11 o'clock. It took a lot longer than I wanted to, but there it is. There is the mode working on both devices. Andrew, thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Again, like, subscribe, share. Rolls, thanks for joining. The viewer that was on earlier with YouTube, thank you for watching. Hopefully hopefully you enjoyed it. Feel free again, like, subscribe, share. We'll be back on Tuesday. I might do a stream on the weekend with maybe the Saturn and play some games on here. I appreciate it, guys. Take care, everybody. I shall end it. Where's the ending? Ending.